You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 749 of the Dressage Radio Show, official podcast of the United States Dressage Federation on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products.
Tonight's show is devoted to young horses and their development. We will be talking with Mary Rose Cissell of Dark Horse Training Center, LLC, about her journey with Reese's horse this summer. Next, we will speak with young horse trainer Jontelle Forbus on her new venture at Touchstone Farms in Kentucky of raising and training young horses. For this week's trainer tip, Karen Isberg from the Kentucky Performance Products will be sharing supplements that will help our young horses perform their best.
Well, hi, Megan. How are you this week?
Hey, Reese, I'm fabulous. Just got back from a horse show. How about you?
Same, and a clinic. We had a busy weekend. I know. I think this is go time for all of us. We're all really busy. So how did your show go?
Amazing. I took my little baby horse out.
Love it.
3rd level, and it was our first test. It was clean. She waited for me for the flying lead changes.
Awesome.
It was uphill balance. I couldn't be happier. How about you?
Fabulous. Well, same thing. We had a little actual local horse show, a schooling show, and it's kind of inspired our show today is taking my young horse. Everybody kind of knows that last year I imported a youngster last September, October. And one of the things I wanted to be really open with this show, our show, was kind of my journey with him. And it's been a journey that I wouldn't have necessarily have scripted, but it has been a great journey. And it's been a good journey about myself and about sort of where I am in my life and career, and also with him in his life. So basically I imported this horse. The fall got a little bit crazy, and I got bucked off getting on him very shortly after I imported him.
I didn't know that. That's scary. Yeah.
It was very scary. And I have actually almost broken my back getting on another horse. This is a totally different horse that I worked through years ago. So it's actually a really big fear of mine. So I also made a bad decision. Like, I should have lunged him. I should have gotten on with a handler, like lots of things I should have done differently. But it had been a very long time since I had my own young horse. I coach people with horses all the time, but like one of my own, very, very different. So I was okay, but it made me really think about how I was going to make the journey a little bit different. So that kind of inspired, I also had to really step back and say, I'm almost 45. I've never liked breaking or starting horses or taking them to their first horse show. It is not actually something I'm very good or confident at, but I happen to have this about you. Oh yeah. Well, it was always a joke with Philip and I. Yeah. And Philip was always, would coach me on. So, and Philip, this horse does mean a lot because Philip was part of getting this horse with me. So he was very much like, would help me direct. So I obviously we lost our Phil. And I lost kind of my main person that I would use to bounce ideas off of. So going through that too, right? That was also, we all know that it was a tough fall for us here in the show. Still tough, and still miss our Phil. But so I really was like, what would he say? And he would have said, get an event rider to ride him. So I did enter a very good rider. Her name's Erin Strader. I have coached her many years on her now advanced horse. So we were able to work together with Ori, and she's so confident, tried on, but we were still having some mounting issues and he was nervous and that kind of thing. So then I went into Florida. Erin didn't go. She went to Ocala. I went to Wellington. Enter my wonderful veterinarian's daughter, Savannah Embley, who helped me all through Florida and helped me ride and work with him. But I still felt like, and she was great. We worked together for months together, and she would ride him and take him. And I did get him to the point that I could ride at a competition myself, like a little local show, the Palm Beach Posse. I've been utilizing the schooling shows because it's too expensive to take him, to a recognized show. We haven't been ready for that. But then I still felt like he was having some issues that I didn't love. I didn't love that he was a little bit angsty, especially with things behind him. So when I got home to Kentucky, I called Mary Rose Cissell, and she specializes in this type of behavior with horses. You're going to love her interview here in a few minutes. We've worked together the last 10 weeks. And I see her twice a week. And I had gotten with Ori, I had taken him something. I made a rule in Florida that he had to be on the trailer at least once a week to go somewhere. And I was good about it. I mean, I made that rule, and I'm pretty good with rules. And Savannah would go to different places or different farms or whatever. So we were really good about that. So he's getting very good about going to different places off property and pretty trustworthy. So it has been a big journey for me. It was a big personal journey to kind of step back and say, like, hey, I'm not in a position right now in my life that I, want to get hurt or want to, like, who does, but, and yeah. So I had to really step back and like call other people and be very smart about what I was doing. So I am going to recommend that. Like, if you have a horse of any age, that's what trainers are here for. And there are trainers that specialize, I specialize in pretty much anything after you take your horse to the first horse show. I'm your girl. But this is like way under is way above my pay grade and not something that I'm good at. So I do think that it has been good part of the journey. And I would advise anyone, especially with youngsters. There are a lot of people that are really good with youngsters. So I just want to share that part of my journey with everyone. And I hope you enjoy our interview with Mary Rose and a little bit about the journey I had with my horse.
And Reese, I just want to thank you as a professional to be honest and vulnerable, because I think a lot of my students, adult amateurs, young riders, don't do what you're doing. And it would save them a lot of frustration and injuries. So thanks for the show, Reese. I really appreciate it.
Well, I've thought a lot about it, and obviously, this is our show and we get to be vulnerable on it. And I just felt like it was an important journey to share, because so many people I know need to step back and get some other help. Or, I would have loved to have done the 5-year-old championships with this horse. He actually just went to his first horse show with Aaron this weekend. Yay! And got a 77% in training level. Our problem is not dressaging. That is not our problem. Our problem definitely was some of the other things, but I feel so much better. It's actually been great for my relationship with him. And I just so enjoy this horse. So I do hope everybody realizes being vulnerable is okay. It's okay to say that, obviously after losing our Phil, it did, I was like, I don't want to break my neck on this horse. I don't want to break my neck on any horse, but it did make me step back and say, like, it's okay to say, hey, this isn't my wheelhouse. So I have had a great journey and I have had great riders to work with. And I hope you guys enjoy the interview with Mary Rose.
Frequently asked questions brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. I know my older horse will benefit from a joint supplement, but can it help my younger horse too? Yes, it can. The joints of young horses experience daily wear and tear that can lead to joint degeneration over time. A well-balanced joint supplement provides the building blocks necessary to support healthy cartilage and synovial fluid, so horses stay sounder longer. Joint Armor is the product of choice for younger horses. It provides high levels of both glucosamine and chondroitin, plus 100 milligrams of hyaluronic acid. Joint Armor is herb-free, so there is no worry about it testing in show horses. Betsy sent us the following comments after she started her 5-year-old quarter horse mare on Joint Armor. My vet recommended I try Joint Armor. After 10 days, I couldn't believe the difference. She is now floating across the arena and willingly forward with impulsion and suspension. I am thrilled. She is happier too, ears up and a soft eye. Thank you for such a great product. You can learn more about Joint Armor at kppusa.com. Got questions about your feeding program? We can help. Email Karen at questions@kppusa.com or call us at 859-873-2974.
Well, tonight we are so excited to have Jontelle Forbus of Jontelle Forbus Sport Horses, located at Touchstone Farm in Lexington, Kentucky. She is a bronze and silver medalist. Jontelle, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Well, we are thrilled. Megan and I, and you, we have all been friends since the Scott Hassler Young Horse Trainers Conference years ago, where we would go. That conference went on for 10 years, and we all became friends. And I've been so lucky because you moved. You're about maybe 7 minutes as the crow flies from my farm now here in Lexington. Yeah. And it's so fun to have you because we get to collaborate on all kinds of things. But
yes, exactly.
I'm thrilled. You are starting a new program at the farm where you're located now. So tell us a little bit about yourself and also the program that you're getting started.
I moved to Kentucky just really for a different opportunity, for a change. And I've always been very interested in developing horses in general, but specifically young horses. And the farm is quite large. It's 100 acres. And so there's lots of field space and healthy grass and rolling hills for baby horses. So I thought, my goodness, what better place other than Kentucky on Kentucky bluegrass to raise horses and to develop this program.
And it looks beautiful. I was on your Facebook page earlier today, and you guys have an amazing video that says a little bit about what you're doing, but I'm really interested in the young horse raising program. I'd like to know a little bit more about it. I think that sounds really awesome.
Well, sure. I mean, honestly, the idea sprung from, I've always liked developing horses, but specifically with young horses, it's such a pivotal time in their life before, weanling to 3 years of age, because they get their first handling. They learn how to be halter broken. They learn how to go in a trailer. They learn how to stand for a farrier, and also they learn how to handle their emotions or not during that time, right? So
that's huge.
So every horse,
definitely
huge.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's kind of an interesting time because if they're an open book. And so if their go-to is maybe to, get tall and stand on their hind legs, or to leave the situation altogether, that's the time in their life to kind of redirect that. I know we all have started lots of baby horses under saddle, and some of them haven't been handled so much at 3 and 4 years of age.
So Jontelle, I think this is so important because Megan and I, as trainers, have had horses that are really difficult to handle and shouldn't be, right? So what are some lessons that you as you're bringing the horses in and as they're standing for the farrier, what are some things that you require at that age? Because I think this is important, right? They're babies, but they also need to not be man eaters too, right?
That's right. Well, if you think about all of the things that they need to do in their life, but they need to get on a trailer. But before that, they need to understand what it means to be led by a person, or led by something that's a little scary, or led to the barn when there are, for example, right now we have these biting flies, and that's that's a life skill. They just have to learn, what is that about, and how do I deal with that, and do I just fling legs at my person, or do I stay with my person? Other lessons that are super important, and it seems really basic, and I think it's oftentimes overlooked, but it's basically, how do they deal with adversity? It's not always fun to stand for the farrier. In fact, it's a lot easier sometimes if they lean on the farrier, or jump away from the farrier, or kick the farrier, or bite them.
Naughty, yes, no,
all of the naughty horse things, right? But if they learn, how to stand on 3 legs instead of 4, if they learn, okay, all of these questions that are being asked are fair, and they have a chance to answer questions and be successful, then the idea is just even at a younger age that they learn the same things that they're going to need for adulthood. A big one for the babies is, it sounds a little bit silly, but, many of them don't know how to go in stalls, right?
Yeah.
And
that's a thing.
So, and so that's a thing. Exactly. And so I want the babies to be out as much as possible. I think it's really healthy for them to run around and play and eat and sleep and do everything outside. But it is really important also to know how to handle oneself when they come in the stall. And it's nice for them to come in during this time of the year because, they can stand under the fans and that seems like a really good lesson.
Yeah. They're like, this is lovely. I like this.
Yeah.
It's
like
hot
this
right
school.
now.
Yeah, it's hot.
And are these only foals that you own, that Touchstone Farms owns, or could I send you a foal that I purchased? Could someone in California send you a foal that they've purchased and that you develop them until, what do you recommend, until they're 3, or would you start them as well?
Yeah, great question. So the development program starts at weanling. We request that all the horses or the babies are weaned before coming here. So we don't take in any brood mares. But yes, we take in outside clients. We only have a small handful of babies of our own, and otherwise they're all client horses. And we group them in groups that are age appropriate. So boys and girls, first of all, and then weanlings, yearlings, 2-year-olds. We have had some requests to start the horses under saddle, and I think that is a service. Well, we just started the business last fall, and so it's just beginning.
Awesome.
But at any rate, I would love to provide saddle breaking services. I'm going to say I'd like to reserve those training spots, so to speak, the breaking services for horses that have been in the program. I think that it would make more sense because the lessons would be cohesive throughout.
Yeah. And easier, overall easier. I think that's part of, what you're saying too, is a theme, and all of us that have young horses, right? This stuff takes a lot of time. And some days you may think it's going to be easy. We'll bring these babies in and then they won't walk past the water or whatever. And it becomes a different ball game pretty quickly. Right. I raised a few babies in my life, and that was the only babies I've raised. And I'm good. This is a risk.
It's not for the faint of heart, is it?
No,
I mean,
no,
it's hard.
No, totally. It's hard. It's hard work. But, another thing is, I think, especially being here in Kentucky in thoroughbred country, I've been exposed to so many amazing horse people and service providers that I haven't had access to before. And so I can't think of a better place to have this program. We've got podiatrists, veterinarians, we have nutritionists, and so I've been really lucky to pull from kind of the best of the best here. And there have been some, babies that have come in with pretty crooked legs, and we've been able to, we do have the ferry on an every 4-week schedule with the babies, which seems, some people think, gosh, that's excessive, but we've been able to correct some really crooked legs. And I think, wow, what a wonderful thing that we can do for our sport horses, because as far as raising sport horses, I mean, we're watching horses go into their, late teens and whatnot. And I mean, these are the kind of, for me, I think these are the years, the building block years where we can build strong bone. We can, help direct podiatry issues. We can help direct, training issues like early on before it turns into even a riding horse. So, hopefully it's a service that people are interested in. I think it's highly interesting. I think it's really important that, we train the horses in the way that we want them to go. It's like we give them a leg up for whatever they do in their future.
I love it. I love it. It's such a great idea. So Jontelle, tell us, how can people find you online, Facebook, your website? Tell us all the things. So if anybody has questions, or maybe any questions of as they're raising their own babies, how can they get touch base with you online?
Oh, for sure. Okay. Well, my website is jfdressage.com. So Jontelle Forbus Dressage. My contact information is all on that website.
Fantastic.
Yes. And And, if you like to Instagram, Facebook, I try to make every other week reels of what we do and the training that we do with the young horses, so people can stay up to date with that.
Love it. Love it. And they can watch on what you're doing and what their babies should be doing too. So I think it's fantastic. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, for sure. Thank you.
Even under the best circumstances, travel is stressful for horses. We've all been there, stuck on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. You can make the journey knowing that US Rider is there for you. Get peace of mind on the road with US Rider's nationwide 24/7 roadside assistance coverage for both you and your horse. Join today at usrider.org.
Well, tonight we are so excited to have Mary Rose Cissell from Dark Horse Training Center, LLC. She has become quite an asset for me and my horse, Ori. So welcome, Mary Rose, to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thrilled to have you. And, I said in the intro, how much we've been working together, and we've been together now. I've known you now for a while. You came for some dressage lessons on some other horses. Like, we've been working together now for a couple of years, but I have so enjoyed our summer of methodically chaotic training. But tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to get into the journey of how you take these horses and do some amazing things with them.
Perfect. Yeah. So I've been training horses for about 15 years now. I started when I was a teenager. Didn't have a lot of funds for horse showing growing up, so always just kind of got thrown on kind of back burner horses and horses we didn't even know if they were broke or not. And just always kind of worked with the project horses growing up, and then just enjoyed it. As I got older, started getting paid for it, and then it kind of evolved into Dark Horse Training Center over the years. I've always been really into starting young horses. That was always my specialty, but the last few years, I was introduced to the Dutch warm bloods through some wonderful friends, clients, and breeders around here, and kind of really fell in love with the dressage babies. And that's kind of I've moved my business to specializing mostly in starting young warm bloods now. So it kind of went that direction for a little bit, and then started taking them on a lot of field trips because I started noticing that their brains at home were so much different from their brains off property, and then just built up a little bit of a reputation for being one of the only trainers around that hauls them as much as I do. We're hauling 2, 3, sometimes 4 days a week. Our program is mostly on the road. So just kind of have a little bit of a different business model than like your average trainer around here. So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, no, which is perfect because, we talked about it is I kept my horse at home because I also wanted to ride him myself and do some technical work. But what's been so good is I have to haul to you sometimes. Sometimes you come to the farm, which is wonderful. And, if I whatever got going on, but one time a week we try to go somewhere. So we do what we've been working on at home. We work on it, and it makes me put him on the trailer. It makes us go somewhere. You live about an hour and 15 minutes from me. So sometimes I come up to you and we go to a local park or one of your clients' farms. Sometimes we go to a local park here in Lexington, but it forces you to put your horse in the trailer, get organized, load your horse, take him somewhere. So now it's actually not, I usually come with my niece. She's been working with me and she's 10 and she and I can take him ourselves. And he's very, very well behaved now. And we sort of tackled that hurdle, which is great. So we can talk about our journey with Ori to start with. Obviously, I came to you with a very specific problem, which was mounting. It has actually, interestingly, and I think that's probably part of your system, is finding actually the onion and peeling the layers. He really doesn't have a problem mounting. What he really doesn't like is something behind him. So can we talk about like how we've been working through that?
Absolutely. So oftentimes when people present their horse with an issue, it is not the actual issue that is the real problem. That issue that they're pointing out is a symptom of a much bigger problem that probably starts somewhere either on the ground or when they were getting started under saddle. In Ori's particular case, he did not like things happening behind him, but he also had a little bit of an issue with standing still to get on without some assistance. Not a big deal. Lots of people don't even think of that step, but it is a very important step to make sure they understand how to stand perfectly still for someone to get on versus having someone hold them. So, we kind of worked on we kind of isolated both of those issues and then started the process of getting him more desensitized to things happening behind him, working on the mounting block, but also teaching him how to deal with fear in a self-regulatory way. So, and I started seeing this situation when I would haul horses places, when they don't, and watching other people take horses places, when they cannot regulate themselves and they're just in that fear side of their brain, they're obviously much more dangerous to be around. They're not safe to haul out in public. So if you can teach a horse at home how to approach something scary, how to think through it and not just react, everyone is much safer. And a horse is much more confident and can focus on their job instead of losing their mind because there's something scary happening. So we did a lot of that with Ori, introducing very strange things to him, like these blow up dragons and these smoke bombs and just all of these crazy things that he would never see out. He probably would never see them out in public. Odds are he probably won't see those things at a dressage show. But, however,
you never know.
Teaching him, you never know, right? Teaching him how to control himself at home, where it's okay to be afraid, but you have to keep yourself under control. You can't just bolt. You can't just take off. You can't just turn your butt to it. You have to stay centered with me, and let's check this out together. You have to try. So just building up his confidence apart from those other issues has gone a long way for him as well. Also, if you're showing them all of these scary things during their training, then they get out in public and, what's a plastic bag when you've had tarps all over you and you've had dragons behind you and, and the unicorns popping out of nowhere, what's a plastic bag at that point? So that's a little bit of a theory behind it too, is if you're doing this just insane stuff with them in a calculated, controlled way, I'm never just throwing these things at them. But if you're doing these things in a controlled way, when they do get out in the real world, it's going to be hard to top that. So that was kind of the science behind it.
I have a question for you because I checked out your Facebook page and I'm so impressed with these little crabs. When do you introduce these little crabs and where do I get them?
Okay, the crabs can be bought off Amazon. I do have a link for those. But the crabs those are tough. Those are actually one of the tougher ones we do because I can't control them. I can't control them. They go wherever they want. And while they don't hurt, they're weird. They're very, very weird, and they make a weird noise, both with the clacking and the music. It takes an average of 3 days for me to teach a horse, or 3 sessions to teach a horse to stand there like that. Wow. And now some of them do not have the brain capacity to do that without intensive training, and it's not something I'm going to spend weeks and weeks on. But the average horse, it takes 3 sessions to do that because that's a very tough thing for them to accept. And again, I'm not just unleashing 30 crabs on them. Like, that's not how this goes.
Yeah,
like, it starts with really one crab turned off. Yes. And I do try to make a disclaimer in a lot of my videos, like, do not just go try this at home because you will fry your horse's brain. Yeah. And that's not what we're wanting here. So it starts with one crab that's not turned on, and then you build up to the crab level of 30, and then they're fine. They realize, okay, this is actually really good because I can just stand here and do nothing, and she's going to make a video about it. So my horses at home really start to learn that if they just stand there, it's this exercise can be over. So, the crabs are a good one, but they take a long time.
And we did umbrellas.
You did it too?
We've not done crabs. So one of the things I think is really important to remember is, again, I have a professional. So Mary Rose comes in, she has a very specific technique she's going to work on that day, right? There's not these just massive blow up things that go up in the ring. Like we've been together 10 weeks, at least 20 sessions together where, there's things that go on. So the other day we worked on umbrellas, right? We're standing there and we would stand there and the three of us had umbrellas and we would walk around and we would open umbrellas because that happens at a horse show, right? Mm-hmm. We were working with the blower and plastic bags. So somebody was blowing and a plastic bag at a horse show flies up. We have techniques to deal with that. And he's able to, I don't do the handling. She does all the handling because one of the things that Mary Rose is amazing at, she's very patient, but she will get to the other side. Like we had the other day, had the dragon behind him and it was very interesting. He let her be on top, but when she came off of him, he didn't want to stand when someone's on the ground. He actually handled it better under saddle. And it took a while, actually. That was one of our harder exercises, was that he had to stand there and he would go against the wall. He wanted, and so that was a ground exercise and he did it better under saddle, actually. And
that's another thing too, with like you just said, with the like a skilled professional. So I've been doing these exercises with many horses over the years. I can read them really well, not only when there's a release, but also if they're getting too overexposed. And you need to stop if you think they're getting like this is too much. And that's really important to be able to read a horse at a high level, to stop the exercise or back off, give them a release when it's getting to be too much. And like this other day with Ori not wanting to have his butt to the dragon, we were able to work through it. And I could tell he's not getting to a point where he's escalating or he's going to blow up. Right. This is, I can read him well enough, whereas just a regular person, just even with just the crabs, like you might not be able to read that. And then you're really causing a big issue in your horse. So that's a very important point there.
And I think for me, one of the things that it's done for me too, is just give me confidence that he has some skills that he didn't have. Now, Ori, I got him when he was 4. So he's maybe just 5. Maybe he just turned 5 in end of June. Like he's just 5. He was a late baby and a big dude. And like he actually, we know, I'm still in touch with his breeder, very, still friends with her. We talk, I've been sending her this stuff and showing her, because she even said, like when he was in Holland, she always had someone there to get on. And there was always someone with her. And she would say when he was big, I would have someone hold me, like, which was appropriate at that age, but he did not have these skills. And I haven't even told Mary Rose, but today I rode him and there were people on the roof of the barn behind us. Oh. Right. And that would, like, some of my experienced horses would have lost their mind. He just looked at it and he was like, cool. And we went right to work. And people on top of the roof was not that weird. My Grand Prix horse thought he was like, what is happening? But Ori was like, cool. And it was so nice for me to have that, knowing that he's been put in much harder situations than people on the roof. And I was like, cool, take a look. Okay, we're going to go back to work. And he was calm about it and he handled the emotions. I was able to then handle my emotions because he was very good. And we have been through these sessions, and Mary Rose, it rides him. Like I stand and watch and take pictures, but she's working it and she's doing it because she is so calm. And that is, I think, another really important thing. I just said, when the time is right, I'm never going to ride him with a dragon touching his butt. I'm just going to put that out there right now. Like, I'm never doing that. But I'm like, nope, not doing that. But maybe I'll work up to it. But having someone and seeing how he does and how he's been able to work through it has helped me as the owner. Also handling him, like he has more confidence to handle. Like it really has been such an amazing program for us and this particular horse, because I felt like if we didn't kind of get through some of this stuff, it was going to be a problem for his life. And, I really like this horse. I love riding him. He's the right size. He's everything I love about him. He walks with me at night. Like I love him. But there was this very scary thing for me. I have also been bucked off getting on. So that is something that really makes me anxious. And so having Mary Rose do all of these things, not blow his mind, but knowing that he has some skills, that he's not just going to bolt and do something stupid. I mean, we had a bird. I've never seen this, a vulture sort of fly through our arena while she was on, like she just gotten on, it was nature. I've never seen a buzzard fly in my arena ever, probably never again, but he handled it. And I saw that and I was like, okay, that was really scary. Any horse would have reacted. It was just, it was the weirdest thing that just happened, but he handled it. And she did such a beautiful job handling it. So I will absolutely recommend people call Mary Rose, work with someone who knows this type of work. It is not my wheelhouse. And so having her help me and learning, and I've watched her and just how calm she is. And when she presses, when she lets him go, when, she threw off a smoke bomb at him the other day. He didn't do anything. He was just like, And then she brought the bubble gun. He was like, whoa, what is that bubble? What is that bubble gun? He's like, I don't know what that thing is, and she worked through that. So I think it's been, because that's your slogan, right? We have to talk about your slogan because it's so great.
Yes. I don't even remember how I came up with that, but I think I was trying to think of like a funny catchphrase, and I was like, that's perfect because it does look chaotic. Like if you're just scrolling through my Facebook page, it looks like pure chaos, but there really is a method to all of it. And that's, I think, across disciplines, especially up at a show level, people are afraid of their horse being scared. And that's something I'm trying to change. Like instead of just trying to keep them from being afraid, let's be afraid together and show them that it's not that bad. It's okay. And it's okay to be afraid, but we have to keep everything under control and you have to stay with me. Like that's a big thing when I'm having them try, that they can't just look away, disassociate, run away. They have to stay with me. And it's okay. They can be afraid. They don't have to even touch it, but they have to stay with me. And that goes a long way safety wise when they're out in public and they learn like, okay, I can be scared, but I can't just flee the scene. Yeah. So it's just not being afraid of the fear. It's just we're helping them work through it.
As a horse owner, after going through, and we're not done with our program. We still, whenever we're released, I'm still probably we're gonna have touch-ups. But I was able to take Ori to a horse show this weekend, and I felt really comfortable. And he handled it beautifully, and I really had a good time. Like I think that's one of the things that I'm not a young horse expert. It's never been my wheelhouse. You want a piaffe? I'm your girl. You want two changes? I'm your girl. But taking a horse to their first horse show situation has never been my wheelhouse. So having some strategies now that I can see him work and show, it's been a really good summer for us. And I really cannot recommend her enough. Mary Rose has been, when she comes, Ori walks out, he's like, oh, my nanny's here. This is only a big day.
We get to do fun stuff, right?
I love all of this. This is so awesome. Professionals collaborating, building confidence in our horses. And Mary Rose, how long do you think this takes? I get that it's all individual for every horse, but like for Reese and her horse, how much longer do you think you're going to continue working with them? Obviously, she's going to keep coming back, but
every horse I have is going to Mary Rose.
I mean,
every horse from now on.
Better.
Yeah.
But I would say with the issues that were presented in the beginning, I would, if it were if I was prescribing another month, I think that would probably do it because I could finish off his issues with things being behind him. Like we're getting there because we're working on some pretty tough stuff right now. Like me intentionally backing him up against something scary and getting on in a loose rein and expecting him not to move. Like we're at the top level of isolating those kinds of issues. So, and once he's fine with that and he's not showing me anything else, he's pretty good to go. I feel like I've done so. And then it's just for fun, building confidence with new stuff if we feel like it. But I would think at that point we've fixed the main issue that brought him to us. But when I'm starting the youngsters, like when people send me horses to start under saddle, it's usually 60, 90 days, especially when I'm the first person on their back. And this is just the type of thinking I'm introducing to them from the very beginning. I mean, 90 days, these babies they're pretty unflappable. I mean, we've got some babies that go to parades after 90. Like we had some that just went to the 4th of July parade and show. Wow. They're 3 years old, 30 days under saddle at a parade, and they have no problem with that because they don't know any different. They've been hauled almost every day since they don't know any different. So really, really fun stuff. So, but as far as Ori, probably another month and he'll be right where we want him to be.
Yeah. And then, I think our capstone, Mary doesn't know this yet, but we have our regionals. So I would love for her to go with me and we ride him around the horse park. Like that to me is so like, fun. It's super fun, but that's like a huge thing. Can he go to a big horse show at the horse park with Mary Rose starting, then if, all goes well, I feel confident, I'll jump up there and we'll be able to do our thing. So we haven't talked about that yet, but these are things that are coming up, and she's amazing. So it's been a really fun collaboration and just really a lifesaver for me and my horse as an owner, because I was really like, what am I going to do with this thing? But now I feel super confident. He's been great. And, we're still working on things, but it's been great. So I can't recommend her enough. So Mary Rose, how do we find you online? How can people see the videos? They have to take a look at our video. We just made one, which was pretty cool. So we'll have to do that. So how can
the
they
best
find you?
place is our Facebook page. I'm still working on a website. I've been working on that for a while now, but still don't have a website. But if you go to our Facebook page, even if you just Google Dark Horse Training Center, our page pops up. And that's really the best place to see all the videos and all the different things we're doing on there. We have some videos of like day 1, day 2, day 3 of some of the young horses we've started. And those are really fun because you can watch the progress just in the 30 days. Our parade videos are on there. I think our helicopter videos are still on there. We got a lot of fun stuff on there. So on Facebook.
Oh my God, a helicopter?
I missed the helicopter.
We had a helicopter.
That would be a
helicopter made an emergency landing on our farm.
But that happens. That has happened. At Rolex, that literally has happened. Like it happens
and
at
I
Ref,
was like, I'm literally going to go grab our 2 Brocas babies and they're going to stand here and watch this helicopter take off. And they did. They were great.
No, that's
any
a thing.
opportunity to do that kind of thing. Yeah.
I love it. Well, we love you here at our farm. And thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank
you. Again, thanks for having me.
Easy, effective, and eco-friendly fly control starts with fly predators. Fly predators are the organic, natural way to dramatically minimize your fly problem. Learn more about fly predators and other Spalding Labs fly control solutions at Spalding, spalding-labs.com.
Well, tonight we are so happy to have Karen Isberg from Kentucky Performance Products. A little bittersweet for me, Karen. We're so thrilled to have you, but we have exciting news, don't we?
Yes, we do.
She is going into semi-retirement. I love it, Karen.
Am.
Yes.
So I'll have time to ride my horse now.
Yay! The famous Oreo. You're going to have time to ride your horse and be with your family. And we are going to miss you here on the podcast because we were trying to think about how long you've been coming on. It's been a long time. It's
been a long time. I think it was pretty much from the beginning. I mean, Glenn had to twist my arm a little bit. I had microphone phobia.
Yep.
Pretty bad. I'm like, no, Glenn, no. I can't, no, Glenn. But he persisted. And,
he did.
He did.
And then you did a huge spotlight for us for a long time on Oreo. So you have to give us an Oreo update for everybody who doesn't know Oreo. He is your heart horse. And you've had him, I don't even know how many years now, a long time.
It'll be 6 years this year.
Stop it. Oh my gosh.
I know, right? It's hard to believe.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you've had just a great time with him. So I can't wait to continue to hear about your journey with him and that you're going to have time to ride. It's fantastic. So we want to give you a huge hug from our show and thank you for all coming on. But before you leave, we're going to make you do a little work. Because we are having a show. Yeah. I said, I adjust the topic for us tonight because we were doing a whole show on young horses and from raising them and how to handle them from an early age. So we really felt like it was important to talk about feeding a young horse and supplements for a young horse. So I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay. Well, feeding young horses is an art unto itself. And a lot of it really depends on the breed. You would feed a young thoroughbred different than you're going to feed a young warm blood. Different than you're going to feed, a German riding pony. So I think the most important thing to do with your young horses is form a good relationship with whoever the nutritionist is for your feed company. And most of the big feed companies have a nutritionist. And I would call them up before your foal even hits the ground. And I would say, hey, what do you recommend for this particular breed foal? And let them know kind of the size of the foal and what you're going to be doing with it. With a lot of the warm bloods, you don't want them to grow too fast, so you have to be a little bit careful about what you feed them. But mineral and vitamin balance is very, very important in a growing horse, especially calcium and phosphorus. So you need to be careful even when you're growing them slowly, when maybe you're not giving them the required amount of a certain commercial concentrate, then you still need to do something to balance the calcium and phosphorus. And the best thing to do is talk to a nutritionist about that. I think with young horses in particular, you don't want to mess around with that. So that's always my recommendation when somebody calls me. If they have a specific problem with a horse, we have some different products that we can use with a horse, but I like to work with a nutritionist to make sure that the base diet is really properly balanced first.
Excellent. Okay, so I had you come in, Ori was 4. It was December of his 4-year-old year. No, yeah, 4. And I had you come in to kind of talk about development. We had some issues with his feet. You helped me balance vitamin E, electrolytes. What are some supplements, and when is the right time to start having supplements? If the diet itself is good, and we talked about his diet, you looked at that. And then what about supplements? Like, when can you start? When is it safe? That kind of stuff.
Oh, sure. Now, and when a horse is 4, by the time a horse is 4, they've gotten pretty mature. So you can start feeding them a mature diet as well, except for some of your warm bloods. And that's where a nutritionist would be really helpful, looking at growth curves and things. But, if you have a horse with bad feed, it never hurts to use a product like Cariform with some biotin in it. There's been a lot of research done on biotin, and it's shown that your horse doesn't necessarily have to be deficient in biotin to have bad feet. Some horses just need more. And the horses that need more biotin need it for their whole life. So the sooner you start them on it, the better. So if you've got a mare that, that you've had for a while and has bad feet, and she tends to throw babies with bad feet, then, when they're a yearling, you may want to start a supplement like that. A biotin supplement like Cariform. And electrolytes, you can never go wrong with an electrolyte, especially in the summer if they're sweating a lot. Just feed them according to the directions, like our Summer Games electrolyte.
Yep. Amazing
We
product.
have on there and on our website that will help you determine how much your horse needs. And if they're working, need a little more than if they're just hanging out in the field.
Okay.
And then joint supplements are also always something that you can start. Once they go into training, it's a good idea to start a joint supplement if this is a horse that you want to keep long term.
I'm like, note to self. Really? Okay. Don't think that was on my list.
That would be, our joint armor is a good one for young horses because it has what the young joint needs versus some of our other products like our Joint Wise, which is specifically made more for your senior or older horses.
And Karen, I just had a question. Electrolyte, because we were talking before we got on, it is so hot here. And it's been hot. I think it's hot everywhere at the moment. When do you transition to a paste or use a paste versus the Summer Games, which is really palatable? They eat it really well. But when do you switch to a paste, and when should you have that around?
So what I like to do is, I think that giving an electrolyte daily is really important because it keeps the levels of those electrolytes up. And then say you went to a horse show and it was just super, and you gave your normal electrolyte in the morning, but you just had a really hard show and it was really hot, and you want to just make sure that, maybe your horse is a little lethargic, maybe they're not eating, maybe they're a little heat stressed. As long as they're drinking, that's when you can give them a paste electrolyte.
Okay.
That's when I give them the Summer Game paste, because then you make sure they get it. You make sure they get it right away. If your horse has done well all day and tucks into his grain real well, you can just add an extra scoop into his grain.
Okay.
Say you're eating a scoop a day or 2 scoops a day. You can just add an extra scoop in, even to a late night feed if you're concerned about the next day. And that, as long as they're drinking well, it's imperative that they're drinking.
Okay. That makes sense.
If a horse is heat stressed and they're going into heat stroke or something like that, and they stop drinking, then you don't need to be shoveling a bunch of electrolytes in them. That's when you need to get your veterinarian involved. The horse may need fluids first, so you can get the fluids and the electrolytes back in balance. Because if you get that all too far out of whack, you'll actually stop them from drinking, which is not what you want to have happen. So don't give electrolytes if your horse isn't drinking.
Okay. I have a question. As a horse owner, should we be taking a blood panel to help determine what supplements we need to give them? Would that be helpful for our nutritionist or you?
I think that would be on the specific nutritionist. the problem with a lot of this now for vitamin E, that's an important test to take. Okay. You can take a test for vitamin E and selenium, and it'll tell you where your horse's levels are. Some of the minerals and things, the horses are really pretty good at regulating them. So while their blood will show that their levels are good, they may be pulling it from different places. So I would work with your veterinarian, depending on what issues your horse is facing. If you're feeding a good hay at, at least 1.5 to 2% of their body weight, and you're feeding either a balancing pellet, a vitamin mineral supplement, or some kind of commercial concentrate at the recommended levels, then there's a pretty good chance your horse is doing all right. But the vitamin E and selenium sometimes can be tricky. So that's one that you can have a blood test taken, and that would be a good one to do. I mean, you could certainly do, if you get a new horse in, you could certainly do your levels right away. And then if they come back fine and your feeding program is good, you may not need to do it again. If they come back low, then you would work with your veterinarian to figure out when the best time would be to retest them and how to supplement them with a product like Elevate.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. So anything else specifically for, 4 or 5-year-olds that are coming into training, vitamin E? I know we talked about we've talked about it a lot. So if anybody has any questions, we have tons of material on vitamin E, but that was also something that you told me we needed to watch out for.
Yeah, the vitamin E is pretty important because when you're bringing a young horse in for training, particularly, you want them to have a good experience. And if their vitamin E levels are low, if they're not grazing, when a horse grazes about 17 hours a day, they eat their maintenance levels if they're grazing on like a lush pasture. And I don't know a lot of horses in training that have the ability to do that. Maybe they're an outfall overnight or something. So it's really important. That would be a good time to have a blood test done before you send your horse to the trainer, before you put them in work, and to get some idea where their vitamin E levels are. Pretty much 3,000 IUs to 5,000 IUs for a horse that's in heavy work. And with a young horse, if you're introducing them to work and they're sore, they're not going to not going to be happy. So, to make that a good quality experience for them, you want to make sure that you have their vitamin E levels at a good spot where, they're not stiff and sore or, because of a low vitamin E. They might get a little stiff or sore because you're making them work hard, but they'll be able to recover from that in a couple of days, and they'll be happy and training will go well.
That makes total sense. I love it.
Something to look at for young horses, especially if it's a young horse like that's been out in the pasture just with his buddies and bring them in to the barn to train, you might want to look at using a product like our Nalox Advanced for the first few months. And that just helps their digestive tract to transfer over to a whole new schedule. And, some horses, even though they don't act particularly upset, they can be those internal worries. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you've got ulcers. And again, that's not helping your horse in training, and it's not giving a good experience. So sometimes
it's also stressful. Putting them on the trailer, taking them maybe to their first little field trip, or going down the street, or just loading in the trailer. I mean, they do a lot of stressful things that, maybe you don't think about with your older horses, but the youngsters, it's their first outing, their first, time to the park or whatever you're doing with them. So I have found that that's been so helpful for me and my horse, because we've stayed on top of it. And again, I'm super, I know everybody, don't be jealous. I have Karen, because I can ask her, and we talked about it, and you were like, I think this is something we should be doing. So I had an inside scoop, but it's been very helpful because it is stressful. And now he's getting better. Now my guy is like, we get on the trailer, but the first couple times it was a little stressy. So it makes sense.
Yeah, it's stressful for them, and it's a lot more stressful than you think. And that's why, you want to have their vitamin E levels up high enough, because that also helps their immune system, and it helps them deal with that stress. And they've done a lot of research on shipping stress, and horses are stressed in shipping within very short distances. It doesn't have to be a 3-day haul for them to get stressed. So an electrolyte also helps with that if they're sweating a lot when you're shipping them. But the Nalox Advanced, it just really helps. It helps not only their tummy, but also their hind gut and their colon. And it helps kind of keep those ulcers at bay and keeps the horse feeling good.
I love it. Well, Karen, we could keep you on for hours. And everybody, we do have hours of content. If you have any questions, you can always search our tab. And Karen has answered a lot of questions over the years. And we can't thank you enough for all the time you've given us. And girl, you're so good at this. And I'm going to still be able to stay in touch with Karen. But Karen, everybody can still call Kentucky Performance Products, right? All the information, Facebook, the company's not going anywhere.
Oh, no, the company's not going anywhere. And in fact, my longtime partner, Delia Nash, who has been involved in the company for, I don't know, almost 15, 20 years now.
Yes.
She's taking up the main role, and she's always available to answer questions. And she's a very, very good horsewoman as well. A lot of knowledge.
She's so cool. Well, Karen, I know you're going to enjoy retirement. Give Oreo a huge hug for us. And thank you for all the time you've given us here on the show.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, thanks so much for listening to our show and being a part. And feel free to email me, Reese@horseradionetwork.com. If you have any questions with your horse or, that idea of being vulnerable and finding someone, Megan and I have lots of resources and we're happy to help you in any way we can. And just a reminder, everybody, our book club that has been picked up by USDF as well. Our book club for this quarter is Riding Through with Debbie McDonald. And you can find that book at TrafalgarSquare.com and horseandrunnerbooks.com. Well, as always, everyone, you can find our show notes and links to today's guest on our page at horseradionetwork.com. Search Dressage Radio Show. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
And my website is lindenhoff.com and my email is lindenhoffllc@gmail.com. We'd like to thank our friends and show sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products. If you'd like to support our show and the Horse Radio Network, you can do that through the auditor program found at horseradionetwork.com. Keep on kicking on until the next show. Talk to you soon.